lost in this world. Waves all around me, deep in the darkness where it's heartless. I don't know if I can make it, I'll be honest. On fade, track that I'm in. There ain't no escaping. Down to the bottom, all these problems got me drinking. Might drown in this bottle, lost drama got me thinking. If I had one car, would you answer it? Or would you take back all of your promises? 'Cause I don't know who to turn to or who to trust. I don't know. Listen. I'm drowning. We don't own the rights to this music. But I am Oliver Green, and I am your Daddy Issues Reloaded podcast host. Coming to you live and direct for another episode of the Daddy Issues Reloaded podcast. Before I go any further, I want to get a couple things out of the way. Shout out to all my replay watchers that'll catch this on the replay. Shout out to all my podcast listeners that's going to catch this while they're in the car. And shout out to you who are looking at this live and direct. And I want you to do a couple things in the process. Throughout the podcast, I want you to drop a comment. I want you to like, comment, and share. And I want you to do that. So we've been talking about pornography and all of the ins and outs, what it is, what does it look like, how does it affect you? And I've gotten some comments as to maybe I didn't go deep enough. But before I do that, let me give the sponsor for the podcast is Regroup for Change, where we help married couples rapidly strengthen their marriage and money. And understand this: without taking care of the communication part in your marriage, you're going to have a difficult time talking about money. You're going to have a difficult time talking about the things that have been plaguing you in your marriage. So you can reach out at www.financialpeaceandmarriages.com/apply. Now that we've gotten the preliminaries out of the way, let's jump right in. All right. So one of the things that we've been talking about, one of the things that we talked about that I wanted to touch on was like, what is pornography? Pornography is, it's more or less, it's your addiction to looking at things that are a fantasy, and you want them to be your reality. But I want to give you the Webster's definition. Let's see, what does it say? The definition on the internet says, let's see, Merriam-Webster says, the depiction of erotic behavior, as in pictures, writing, video, intended to cause sexual excitement, arousal. So you've heard, you see it, you hear it, you read it, and it gets all up in your eye gates, your ear gates, all your gates. And then once it gets up in your ear gates, and then you hear it and you see it, it enters your mind. And what happens after that? Then you begin to think that every female that you come in contact with is supposed to do these things that you've seen on the internet, or on your DVDs, or on your phone, or on your computer. Now, you heard my story, and if you didn't, I was introduced to pornography in the magazine form at the age of 10. I don't think it was intentional, But I would go to the bookstore with my dad, and he would go, I call them the cowboy doors. He would go behind the cowboy doors, and he would come out with a couple magazines, take them to the counter, put them in a brown bag. He never told me that I couldn't go, but he told me to stay right here where the other books were. So I was looking at the cars and the motorcycles, whatever I was into at the age of 10, and being in a bookstore. But that didn't stop the curiosity of, excuse me, wanting to know what was behind those wooden doors and what he was coming out with. So, what would any natural inquisitive kid do when he wasn't home and I was in the house by myself? I went to find where these magazines were. And what I found blew my mind because I had never seen it before. Naked women, boobs, butts, all of it. And the more that you see it, the more that you participate in the activity of, because I knew every time that I went, at the end of the day, he was going to the bookstore, and the bookstore meant he was getting more books, more magazines, which gave me another opportunity to look at what he was looking at, right? Makes sense. Most boys want to do the things that their fathers do. I was one of them. What about you? Drop a comment below. Drop a one below if you saw it from your parent, from your brother, from a close family member, and because they showed it to you, that's how you got, that's how it entered your mind. But from that, what it did, it put me in a space that as I got older, I thought that all females had to look like this 5 foot Caucasian female with big butt, a shaved private area, knockers, and a butt. So when you are around all that, when you grow up, that's the thing that you think that you want to have. Early on, I wasn't interested in anybody that looked like me or darker because that's not what the magazine showed me. And over a period of time, over a period of time, the magazine became the black box. So for those that know about the black box, that was Skinamax. That was the late night staying up past 12 o'clock. But how many of you know, if you know you got to stay up after everybody goes to bed, it necessarily might not be the best thing for you. But at that young age, 12, 13, 14, but you want to do, you want to participate, you want to be interactive in the things that make you feel good. So understanding when you see it and when you hear it, and you don't have a man around to tell you, we're not going to do that. You do what feels comfortable to you. You do what feels comfortable to you. So from that, I can tell you that my first couple girlfriends, that's what you want to call them, were just like the girls, the women in those magazines. Because that's what I thought, that's what I saw, that's what it had to be. So then you get older and You don't have anybody to guide you to tell you that, that's just not, that's off limits because your young mind, you can't differentiate between what's fiction and what's reality. You begin to crave it more. It begins to become the drug. And we talked about how pornography becomes the addiction. And for those that know anybody that has an addiction, for those that may listen to this and have had an addiction, you know that you begin to justify the things that you do to make you feel good. Now, it makes you feel good, but just because it makes you feel good doesn't mean that it's good for you. You know cigarettes are bad, but people still smoke them and die. You know that excessive use of drugs are bad and can kill you, but that doesn't stop people from doing it because of the feeling. Now, one of the other things um, one of my guests talked about was you have to learn how to manage the arousal because when you don't figure out how to manage the arousal, you begin to want to always be aroused. You're always in go get it mode. You can't always be in go get it mode. When you are in go get it mode all the time, it creates a problem, especially when it comes to sex, because then you begin to seek it out by any means necessary from whomever will give it to you. And again, not having a man around, guess what that does? Puts you in a real sticky situation, no pun intended, but you get my point, because you begin to open yourself up open to diseases, becoming a parent at a young age, and just not understanding what the connection that you build when you begin to have sex with many different people. In the church, they call them soul ties. And you hold on to those soul ties until you're able to recognize that you have them and that you have to be released from them so you can move forward to become the man that you are created to be. So, not dealing with the arousal can create a very, 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 very difficult situation as you grow because it tends to stunt your growth because you stay stuck in the I need to get it from her. And I don't know about you. And I try to um, be as transparent as possible, but I didn't care who I got it from. I wasn't forcing anybody for it, but there was a point in time that I looked at the phone. Oh, I'm sorry, that was no phone. I looked at the magazine. I looked at the Skinamax, and then for those that grew up with BET, you had the videos. So you had the video vixens. You had the girls with half the clothes off. Yeah, sex sells. To the 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old, that's who they're targeting. Music was good, the beat was good, but a lot of the videos, we was just looking to see whose butt was big. I can be honest. Which brings me to my next point. In trying to navigate and deal with the pornography addiction, you have to be open, you have to be honest, and you have to have transparency. You have to be open, honest, and you have to have transparency because communication is key. If you don't talk about your situation, you hold it in yourself. And you've been holding it in yourself for a very long time, and you haven't been successful at kicking the habit. When was the last time you tried to do something that was difficult by yourself and you succeeded? Drop that in the comments below. If you man enough, you may have wanted to stop smoking. It was difficult, and you needed to have an accountability partner. Put a pin in that. You may have wanted to lose weight, and you did all the research online, and you started, but you probably stopped like in 2 days. How about this one? New Year's comes and you say, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get that gym membership, and you pay for it, and you go all of 5 times, but you never cancel the membership. And then you tell yourself, I'm going to keep it just in case. Listen, being open and being honest and being transparent, it starts with you. I had to get to a place where I had to be open, honest, and transparent. Michael Todd calls that being hot. With me, with Oliver. Because if you're not, you continue to harbor those behaviors that you have acquired over a period of time, and you've tried to break them, but when it gets tough, you know what you do? You go back to what's comfortable and familiar. So you go back to the behaviors of sleeping with everybody, whether you're in a relationship or not. You go back to not being able to manage the arousal. What happens with that? Now you're on the internet, not just at home, but at work. You're on your phone and you're getting your fix. The magazines, I think they still have those. I don't know. But you're getting your fix any way possible. And you continue to lie to yourself saying, I don't have a problem. Well, if you're telling yourself you don't have a problem, let me tell you, you got a problem. But the pornography addiction, one of the reasons that I decided to tackle or touch on, because I haven't really tackled it yet, but I think I've opened the door. So for my ladies, because strangely enough, I have several female listeners that tune in. Yo, if your husband is up late and every time you walk by, he click his phone off or he click the computer off, it's an indication he might be looking at something he shouldn't be looking at on the internet. If the sexual behaviors have changed and it's not because of a conversation that the two of you've had, it's an indication something may not be right. If the communication between the two of you has gone from often to very minimal, there's an indication that there's somebody else, or there's something else that's filling the gap, that's standing in your place, and we're not being honest with ourselves. So if I can't be honest with me, can't be honest with you, I don't even know why anybody would expect that. So you don't have to struggle alone. In order to feel free, you have to get help. You don't have to struggle alone. And in order to be free of the pornography addiction, you got to be hot, open, honest, and transparent. But you have to understand you can't do it alone. If you think you could do it alone, how's that been working for you? I could wait all day. I'll probably hear crickets. It wasn't until I became hot, with Oliver, and I decided to be vulnerable with another man to tell them that, yo, I messed up and I need help. And once you do that, you've started the process of wanting to heal. They can hold you accountable when you feel that this isn't working because it's difficult and you want to go back to what's familiar and comfortable. They could be right up all up in you. But you have to make the decision for you that you want to be better for your family. Dude, if you got kids and you got a son and you haven't dealt with your issues, guess what? If you're in their life, you're going to project your issues onto them. You're going to take the approach of doing to them or raising them the way that you were raised. A lot of the things that we don't talk about, men are broken and we need to be fixed. But that can't happen again until we're open, honest, and transparent with ourselves. You continuously hear me say that because the pornography addiction, as simple as it was at 10, you take into your 20s, you take into your 30s, you take into your 40s, and you become a grown man that's unable to deal with the stressors of life. And when you can't deal with the stresses of life, guess what you do? You go back to your childhood fix that is going to continue to draw a wedge into you having a meaningful relationship with anybody, especially another female. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to drop a comment below, or I want you to shoot me a DM or send me a message and let me know if you've ever struggled with pornography. Most won't do it because we don't want to be vulnerable because we don't know what that person across from us is going to do with the information. Dog, I'm here to help you. Why? Because I've been there. I've been to that place where I almost lost it all from something that happened back when I was 10. And I'm 48. Understand, you see the shirt. Deal with your daddy issues today. Otherwise, your daddy issues will deal with you tomorrow. That's my slogan. That's my tagline. Because we spend far too much time waiting until tomorrow to deal with the stuff from our past that is holding us hostage in our future, that's holding us hostage in our current, that's preventing us from moving forward in our future. I want you to truly think back. When was the first time that you touched pornography? When was the first time that you masturbated and was unable to control your arousal? When was the first time you decided you needed to run through a rack of women, girls, females, to control that urge? When did you realize that the things that you saw on television, the things that you read in those magazines, the things that you saw on the video were the very things that began to take over you? When did you realize that you had a problem that you needed to fix it? Marriage was almost over. I called the one person that I knew that I couldn't BS. And the one thing my dad said to me was, son, you're broken. Now fix it. Sounds simple, right? But that's when the process, that's when the wanting to heal process began. Every man needs a man. I heard the slogan, and initially I was like, whatever. But where I'm at right now, I'm here to tell you, if you want to get through whatever your issue is, whatever you're struggling with, understand you can't do it alone. If you could do it alone, you would have kicked the habit that you currently have. I am Oliver Green. I am your Daddy Issues Reloaded podcast host. I want to personally thank each and every person that has rocked with me, that has tuned in, whether it was knowingly or unknowingly. Every person that has listened to the podcast, every person that has shared this, every person that has gotten some type of relief from finally feeling comfortable that the things that you're struggling with, somebody understands. You matter. And I'll leave you with this. My pastor gave me, it was a very simple phrase that meant the world to me. He told me, I believe in you. And if you've never had another man tell you that they believe in you, when you finally hear those words, it makes a difference. I want all y'all to know, I believe in you. I believe that you can get healed from what your addiction is. I believe that whatever has been holding you back in the past is not going to hold you hostage any further. I believe in you. In the event, like I said, if you need an accountability partner, if you want to bounce something off, you need somebody to talk to, you need a voice of reason, I'm here. The next step is up to you. You have to make the decision that you want to get help for whatever the issue is. But I challenge you to answer those questions that I asked. All right? Talk to you. Peace. Cause you're my final breath before I drown. You're my last resort when it's too late. Who takes my pain away? So tell me that you never let me down. Me down. Gon' save, cause I've been in way over my head lately. Shame got me sinking, going off the deep end. Hard to keep my breath away, now I'm barely breathing, man. I'm hoping